As Washington grapples with the repercussions of its foreign policy decisions, the question arises, will this lead to another prolonged conflict, or will it prompt a reassessment of American priorities? Iranian missiles have targeted American troops, prompting the White House to consider its next steps.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
For years, Washington's so-called experts, supported by the previous Democratic administration, assured us that appeasing Iran would lead to peace. President Trump is meeting with his national security team following an Iranian missile strike that injured 20 Americans. Tonight, we challenge the prevailing narrative and seek clear answers. The critical question now is whether America will be pulled into another prolonged conflict to address this fallout, or if President Trump will prioritize American interest, resist calls for global intervention, and insist on genuine accountability. Instead, we face chaos. Get ready for it.
I want to speak to this precise moment in time, and I want to play a clip I heard last night from Rahm Emanuel. He talks about a different moment in the Situation Room. Bill Clinton, 1994, an opportunity the United States had that was not taken. Listen to this.
I'm haunted by two things. Not haunted, but I have a flashing yellow light. In 1994, same room, Situation Room, Bill Clinton was getting basically his security team bombed North Korea. President Carter, having gone there, messed it up and messed up that opportunity, and now you have a nuclear North Korea.
Is that a lesson we should look to? We could have stopped North Korea in 1994, and here we are again, history repeating itself with a fanatical regime.
Today, we witness the repercussions of that era's failures. North Korea, now aligned with China and Iran in what some describe as an axis of autocrats, continues to challenge American interests and threaten our allies. The key takeaway here is not that America should impulsively engage in every conflict or pursue regime change indiscriminately. This indecision allowed North Korea to evolve into the nuclear armed threat we face today. At that time, the United States had a crucial opportunity to effectively address the North Korean threat before it escalated. In contrast, the current administration has prioritized American interests, asserting that our adversaries will not set the terms for us or our allies. Rather, it's a reminder that when the U.S. intervenes, it must do so decisively, with clear goals and the resolve to see them through. American strength, when applied wisely and with definitive purpose, remains our best deterrent against rogue regimes. This situation exemplifies the pitfalls of guiding American leadership with naive optimism and a globalist perspective, rather than a practical evaluation of national interests and the strategic use of power. We cannot afford the kind of hesitation and indecision that characterized the Clinton years and the recent foreign policy missteps of the Biden-Harris administration, which have only diminished American credibility and emboldened our adversaries. The way forward is clear: defend our interests, steer clear of unnecessary conflicts, and ensure our enemies never perceive our restraint as weakness. The American public is weary of endless wars, but they are equally weary of weakness and indecision that compromise our security.
Nuclear power. Isn't that what happened to us? And to suggest that, well, maybe we shouldn't do anything because they haven't officially made the decision to weapon. For 25 years, they've taken every step that's humanly possible, not only to develop a nuclear weapon, but also they put into this major enterprise, and this is what some people don't get, is the Ayatollah has built an enterprise that's redundant and resilient because he knows at some point it would be attacked. And he wants to absorb that attack, survive it, recover and rebuild. And he is never going to voluntarily dismantle his program with verification because it's gone. He believes some of it will be left and I can recover and rebuild. That's really where we are. That's why no progress in negotiations have been made. And that's why the only way to deal with this is you have to forcibly dismantle the program.
Sandra.
What could you tell us, General Keane, about what the president may be weighing in this?
In contrast, proponents of the America First philosophy recognize that prolonged wars and regime change efforts have cost us significantly without enhancing our safety. The only way to prevent Iran from following North Korea's path is to be prepared to use decisive force when absolutely necessary, clarifying that our objective is not regime change, but the permanent dismantlement of the nuclear threat. Some advocate for continuing past failed strategies, hoping more negotiations or symbolic sanctions will sway the Ayatollahs. The Ayatollah's strategy is to build a program so strong that it can recover and rebuild even after severe military strikes. This involves supporting our allies, using our unparalleled military strength as a last resort, and rejecting any dictates from global institutions or foreign governments about what is best for America. For over 25 years, the Iranian regime has systematically expanded its nuclear program, creating a robust infrastructure designed to withstand attacks and ensure its survival. Americans are weary of being pulled into endless conflicts by a bipartisan establishment that fails to learn from past mistakes. This pattern mirrors North Korea's experience, where both Republican and Democratic administrations, particularly under Democratic leadership, have relied on endless negotiations and optimistic globalist views, only to see the regime flout every prohibition and develop nuclear capabilities. The lesson is clear: incremental diplomacy and half measures fail with determined adversaries. The current administration understands that American power lies not in reckless interventions, but in credible deterrence and enforcing clear boundaries. The diplomatic efforts have only resulted in delays, allowing Iran to further enhance and conceal its capabilities. We need a foreign policy that prioritizes our security, employs strength judiciously, and never confuses restraint with weakness.
We know he's meeting with his national security team this morning. We don't know if he's emerged from that yet. But what options do you think he is seriously having to weigh in this moment?
Yeah, certainly. Well, he's had 4 or 5 meetings, and these are very detailed meetings in terms of what is our policy overall. And I think when you strategically look at it, I would assume someone like Secretary Rubio is saying, given what the Israelis have done to the Iranians and how back on their heels they really are, you know, they took down 70 of their air defense batteries. There's none left. They've hit 45 military sites. They've hit every single one of the nuclear sites, all 12 plus of them, either damaged or destroyed them. There is no Air Force. It is completely destroyed. They decapitated their military and scientific leaders, as you know. And listen to this. Where are the proxies who have missiles and rockets? Not a single one of them is coming to their defense. I asked an Israeli general, what's going on?
After years of Iranian aggression, proxy warfare, and nuclear brinkmanship, Israel has struck a significant blow to Tehran's military and scientific leadership. Fox News has provided complete coverage of these developments, featuring detailed analyses of the military strikes and their impacts. With Iran's military compromise and its nuclear ambitions thwarted, except for the Fordow facility, the regime is more isolated than ever. For decades, strategies of endless negotiations, symbolic sanctions, and tepid military actions under various administrations have only emboldened Iran and its proxies, costing the American people dearly in terms of security, treasure, and lives. With their air force decimated, military sites obliterated, and major nuclear facilities severely damaged or destroyed, Iran is indisputably reeling. Hezbollah, once Iran's most formidable regional asset, has suffered devastating losses. The absence of support from any proxy, including Hezbollah, in this crisis highlights the campaign's effectiveness and the changing regional dynamics. In contrast, the current administration has prioritized American interests, clearly signaling no tolerance for endless wars, costly regime changes, or unchecked threats from rogue regimes to our allies and homeland. This situation also exposes the shortcomings of the long-standing bipartisan foreign policy in Washington. This campaign has crippled Iran's air defenses and destroyed its ability to project power regionally. They've enlisted military experts to offer insights, helping viewers understand the stakes. More attention could be given to internal Republican divisions and a critical examination of intelligence claims which have historically misjudged the region. We are currently witnessing a seismic shift in the Middle East power dynamics. It's time to abandon the failed playbook of endless negotiations and globalist appeasement. Visually, Fox News effectively uses graphics and real-time maps to depict the extent of the strikes and the damage inflicted on Iranian infrastructure. Their current silence as Iran faces severe challenges clearly illustrates their diminished capabilities. Despite maintaining a large number of operatives and some support within Lebanon's Shiite community, Hezbollah is now merely a shadow of its former self. The decimation of their elite Radwan force, the destruction of their tunnel networks, and the collapse of their financial system have significantly weakened them.
Iran's most likely reaction to it, what are they probably going to do, what's their most dangerous course of action they would take for us, and then they'll walk him through what we would do to deal with all of that. So those things are clearly out there. In terms of the 2 weeks, I think the carrier strike group may be a factor here. You know, it's coming from the Pacific Ocean. It arrives this weekend. I don't think it has much to do with protecting our forces as much as it has to do with retaliation against Iran if they make the decision to strike our forces.
Publicly, it's a defensive measure, but it also sends a clear message to Tehran. Any attack on U.S. personnel or allies will be met with decisive force. This strategy is about establishing credible deterrence, ensuring Iran understands the consequences of further escalation. A particularly dangerous response for American interests would be a coordinated missile or drone strike targeting U.S. forces or assets in the region, especially if perceived as a direct threat by the arrival of a carrier strike group. The carrier movement underscores that American military power remains unmatched, and that any miscalculation by Iran could have catastrophic consequences for its regime. Iran's likely response in the coming days will involve a calculated escalation combined with strategic messaging. Such actions would aim to demonstrate resolve, increase the cost of intervention, and signal Iran's capability to inflict harm despite significant military losses. The current administration has prioritized deterrence over adventurism, clarifying that our military will not serve as the world's police force. The deployment of a carrier strike group from the Pacific Ocean, now nearing the region, serves a dual purpose. The challenge now is to maintain this delicate balance, projecting strength without stumbling into another costly conflict, ensuring that American prosperity and security remain the top priorities as events unfold in the coming weeks. In the long term, the prospect of a wider conflict could jeopardize economic recovery and might prompt the Federal Reserve to rethink its interest rate strategy. Tehran's leadership consistently tests boundaries, probes for weaknesses, and seeks opportunities to rally their population and regional proxies, all while avoiding overwhelming retaliation. Decades of bipartisan mismanagement, particularly under previous administrations, have burdened Americans with the cost of endless wars and global entanglements. It represents a calculated move to buy time, create use, and deter adversaries from escalating. The arrival of the carrier strike group is significant, but does not signify a blank check for intervention. Instead, American strength is being leveraged to secure real concessions, protect our interests, and avoid the open-ended commitments that have drained our treasury and affected many American families. Financial analysts are monitoring the bond and equities markets for signs of volatility. Economically, these developments have implications far beyond the Middle East. Infographics that track oil price spikes and analyze sector-by-sector impacts illustrate how conflicts thousands of miles away can influence everything from mortgage rates to grocery bills. Defense stocks are climbing, driven by expectations of increased procurement and operational spending, while the travel and hospitality sectors prepare for potential downturns as geopolitical risks dampen consumer confidence. And there you have it. Tonight, we observe the foreign policy establishment advocating for another intervention, seemingly oblivious to the fact that endless wars have never made America safer or stronger. Now, under President Trump, we have leadership that refuses to send our sons and daughters to fight battles that aren't ours. It's time we ask, who really benefits from these wars? The previous administration, led by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, left us weaker, entangled, and subservient to global interests that never prioritize Americans. Leave your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep holding them accountable. Good day, good evening, and good night.